of destroying it, even though it is not physically in the office. You have set up issues like the right to be forgotten. All these things, if the corporates don't set them up, then definitely they will have the biggest challenges in losing data and losing information. But one thing that I must add and say is that cybersecurity is seen more often as a negative issue. But there is a positive aspect to it. There is.
Now, I want us to hold that there because we will come back with that conversation. Sure. And I want our viewers to also join us in this conversation on the hashtag KTN News Center. Have you been a victim of cybercrime, perhaps? But even as we talk about that, let's switch gears for a moment and head to the court there, where the Kenya revenue officials who were last week arrested in a sting operation are set to appear before court to face charges related to tax evasion. The officers were arrested during the operation conducted in the KRA offices along Mombasa Road and Times Towers. Let's bring in our reporter, Brenda Kerubo, who is following up on this report. Brenda, what more do we know so far?
Good morning, Michelle. Of course, we're coming to you live from Milimani Courts. What do we know? We know that about 45 Kenya Revenue Authority officials suspected of abetting tax evasion as well as complying when it comes to offering services through corruption and bribery. These are some of the KRA staff that are expected here anytime at the Milimani Courts. Of the charges are ranging between tax evasion, like I said earlier, and bribery and corruption. They're still suspects at the moment, and they are right here expected from the Central Police Station, where they have been held since Friday at 4 p.m. to answer to the charges. So what do we know so far, Michelle? We know that about 75 officials were interdicted by the taxman on Friday. The taxman did issue a list of suspected individuals on Friday, indicating that this has been going on through a crackdown that began about 4 months ago, where we saw about junior officials as well as middle-level managers and also supervisors who are implicated in this what we call rogue officials that are operating at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Of course, right now they are being treated as suspects, but KRA was very quick to issue a statement indicating that around 61 of them belong to the customs, the domestic taxes department, and around 14 others or 15 others are in the clearance and customs department. And they did say the bulk of them, actually, that's around 61 of the total of the 75 are actually in Times Tower. So at the moment, we are waiting for them to be brought here at the Milimani Courts, where they should be able to answer to the charges, where they should be able to take a plea, and then we will see the way forward. Michelle?
And of course, this comes as the latest move by KRA as well as the Office of the DPP in the prosecution and the fight against corruption. But the specific dockets that the individuals there are from, some that let me just look them up for a moment there. Several that would help with trailing money and communication, departments of domestic taxes and departments of custom and border control department. What damage then has been done in those departments with these officials aiding corruption?
Well, Michelle, we are yet to be given a full statement when it comes from the taxman. But what we know that it has been going on over a long period of time. Of course, last year we did see KRA issue a statement indicating that about 85 rogue officials have been, of course, found guilty of these specific vices. But it was also quick to say that it has implemented a system, more automation going on, and lifestyle audits in a bid to tackle these specific vices. But also this particular interdictment actually began 4 months ago. KRA moved in through a multi-agency team and sort of brought in junior, what we call them, interns in the name of spying over their bosses who are actually more or less suspected to be engaging in these specific vices. So they came in and they have been issuing statements to the police indicating what exactly is going on when it comes to the Times Tower as well as other specific agencies that are linked to the Kenya Revenue Authority. And they were in turn able to give a report, and that's how we came about the Friday incident where we saw about 75 75 officials from the Kenya Revenue Authority that were interdicted. So it is something that has been going on, and KRA, of course, has been accused time over time, of course, since 2014 of not meeting its tax when it comes to revenue targets. And some of the concerns has been the fact that it's not netting in most of the people who are required to pay taxes. We're talking about traders who are actually importing products from abroad, and they're saying some of them are actually understating the amount of imports that are coming in and saying that they should be paying more for taxes, but we are seeing them collide with suspected KRA officials and actually issuing a lower figure that is not on the ground, or that is not the true picture when it comes to their business. That is just one segment of it. We're also seeing irregular issuance when it comes to tax compliance certificates, and KRA says this has been a thorn in the flesh, and says that of course this has led to when it comes to meeting revenue targets, the taxman is not meeting the revenue targets, and it's saying that it's about time that it ropes in a multi-agencies that includes the DPP, it includes the DCI, who of course has been at the forefront when it comes to tackling this specific vice. He has issued in the last 1 hour another list of suspected individuals. Let me just remind you, the 45 individuals that were arrested on Friday were actually kept in the police cells, that is the Central Police Station, for questioning. It is believed that these specific suspected individuals could have given more names of mostly even their bosses. The DCI was very quick to note yesterday, George Kinoti, he did indicate that he will not stop at anything should the the racket go all the way to commissioners, and saying that if they're found guilty, they will of course face the law. Michelle?
All right, many thanks. That is Brenda Kiruba. Brenda, we understand that they are expected to face the judge any moment from now. Do we know what time the proceedings will begin?
Seeing some of the lawyers that are coming in with the family of the suspected individuals, they're very worried. A bit of confusion going on because they're looking to see where the room of the exact case will be held. We've now been told it's at room 23, but at the moment it's closed. So we really don't have much information in relation to this. But what I can tell you, Michelle, is the fact that a lot of families have gathered here. I mean, 45 is quite a big number coming from, this people who are working for a government parastatal. So most of the families are here just to sort of support their suspected members who are looking at the case being mentioned. But we also know that it may take longer because we spoke to one of the lawyers close to the matter, and he tells that it hasn't been booked yet. But we do know from the Central Police Station, it indicates that the suspects are set to be moved here, of course, to answer to the charges. Michelle?
One last question, Brenda, because you are following up on this report. I remember during the release of the judiciary report, we had Chief Justice David Maraga take up an issue with the DCI and the DPP in the manner in which they frame these cases, putting 20 or 30 or 40 people under one charge, making it very difficult because they'd probably all have 45 lawyers as well. Has there been any word perhaps from the prosecution on how this case is likely to go?
Oh, well, Michelle, we don't know at the moment, but of course that is a critical concern. But what I can tell you, even the number in itself, looking at the room where we've been told where it to be held, it's quite a small room. So having all of them on board and having all of them answer to those charges, it's very interesting to see how that will play out. But at the same time, the Kenya Revenue Authority has a revenue target to meet. And of course, the National Treasury has been ramping up its support when it comes to giving them additional money to see that this is met. The taxman has been implementing a lot of automation process when it comes to collection of taxes. And now they're saying, hey, look, we have actually implemented an array of reforms, but it still remains the fact that we have some rogue officials when it comes to the Kenya Revenue Authority. And they're saying that the sooner we start this, the sooner we have the suspected individuals booked so that it can be, a lesson even to others so that the vice can be stopped. So it's something that is critical and it needs to be answered. And remember, Michelle, the taxman has a target. We have June 30th that you're looking at. Will it meet its revenue targets? Will we see more returns? And which ones of those